wasn't a good look for the NFL. And I have seen people the last couple years say some of the dumbest shit. Why did Shedeur Sanders, and why should you care? Why did Shedeur Sanders fall so far? Other things I've heard are Deion being a helicopter dad. Here's how I address that. He says, sure, you did that with your son because he's such a good quarterback. Oh, is he a good quarterback or is he a lousy quarterback? Because in January, we thought he was a good quarterback. Now we're saying he's not a good quarterback. Doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious. It's just a motherfucking jump. Just go. Let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And the other guy. On this beautiful afternoon. It is beautiful here today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really nice day today.
Fuck yes, man. This is why we live here. It is awesome. That's Chase. Chase, how are you, man? Y'all good? Good?
I'm feeling like much better than I have in quite a few weeks. So
all right.
It's a good day today.
Good day. It's a good day to have a good day.
Hell yeah.
I like that saying. It was not a good weekend, I would say, for Shedeur Sanders and for some other people, I think, as well. Wasn't a good look for the NFL, and a couple of things that, at least for me, obviously, you know, anybody who knows me or has followed me on social media knows that I've been following. I'm a big fan of Deion Sanders, big fan of his coaching and what he's been trying to do. Big fan of what he was doing at Jackson State and then with Colorado, turning that program around. And I have seen people, well, even through that whole process the last couple of years, say some of the dumbest shit. And I've pushed back on, you know, that a little bit. And you're probably going to hear me do the same with this today. I like Deion. I like his brashness. I like his cockiness. I've always liked it. You know, the biggest thing, because I'm old and I saw him do all this shit as a player, that he backed it up. Deion has always been this way, except, well, I tell you what, the biggest change in Deion's life was really God, was really spiritual. And that, you know, there was a little bit of more of a party Deion at one point. But just to me, especially since being a coach, what he's wanted to do and what type of an effect he's wanted to have on young players beyond football. Because everybody wasn't going pro. But Deion wanted everybody to have a pro life. You know, and I mean that that he wants it to be something positive, to be, you know, 6 or 7 figures that wasn't in sports, to be good at whatever they chose to do or whatever path they were on, and just very, very supportive. And I've listened to Deion, countless, I can't, so many different interviews, so many press conferences after games, and just very, like Trump in some way, very transparent. You know, he would just be honest and take the questions and answer it. And, you know, and he would also challenge the media when they said dumb things or when he perceived they were attacking him or going against him. You know, he'd bring receipts, man. He'd bring the receipts to the press conference. And there's just people that just don't like that. They don't like that brashness. They don't like that brashness with the Trump. That's just those people. They and I guess maybe I identify with it a little bit because I tend to be on the more cocky side, and I just it's a manifestation. It's a belief. It doesn't serve anyone to it, and it's not being real. It's not accepting reality, but there's no real benefit to being negative. I'm always looking for the spin on the positive. I'm always looking at how that can be used because the other side doesn't help you at all. It just doesn't help you. That's why I like The Secret. That's why I like the whole idea of the just the whole process of it and putting it out there, and Trump does that. Everything is the greatest, the biggest, the best. So what? I mean, who does that hurt? Trying to be positive and reach for that and to do the best. I don't see it. I don't see the negativity in that. And so what did this all have to do with? Why did Shedeur Sanders, and why should you care? Why did Shedeur Sanders fall so far? I don't want it. I think it's more of an issue about Dion than it is about race. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't racists that will say dumb shit or that people will play the race card. That always happens. But I'm not seeing that side of it. I don't see the race card side of it. I can see why some would think so. You had players like specifically, for the Browns, Johnny Manziel was very, very arrogant and confident. He also had some personal issues. He had some shit go on in college. Shedeur Sanders had no problems. He didn't get in trouble. He wasn't out partying on Saturday night before or Friday night before the game. I mean, that was Johnny Manziel. The Tampa Bay quarterback. What was it? Mayfield. I kept wanting to say Mayfair. I don't know why that is a little brain fart there for things. Thank you. Yeah, Mayfield. I love Mayfield. I love when he stuck the flag in in the middle of somebody's logo. I like that. And, but he also backed it up to some extent. But that didn't really, it didn't hurt their draft stock. Recently there was, I think, an Alabama player. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but there was an Alabama player maybe just a couple of years ago that plays for the Eagles now that was involved in, there was a car crash where one of his friends or another player died, right? And I don't remember Kyrie Jackson died in the car crash. Thanks for pulling that up. And who was the player that was drafted then? Was it Ruggs? Did he go to the Eagles? Can you pull that up? Make sure I'm saying the right thing. And in what year was that?
2024.
Yeah. Okay. And he was drafted. There were talks about him. And I just.
The Vikings.
The Vikings. Okay. Well, Jackson was the Vikings player, not Ruggs. So, yeah, put Ruggs, drafted by. The Raiders? And that's not the one I'm thinking of then. I thought maybe there was another one. Yeah, this isn't. I should have probably given you a heads up before this. I just know there was a big thing that I thought it happened before the draft, and he dropped a little bit, but it wasn't a huge drop. But that's happened in the past, Yeah, that's a different one. I'm thinking of it. I'm positive it's an Eagles player that was a lineman that there was a situation with. But anyways, I won't get too far off on that. That'll not help the thing. There we go. Now you got it. Jalen Carter. And that was before the draft. And then where was he drafted at? What was his round? Still the 9th overall pick. And there was a lot said about that, but yet they took him at the 9th overall pick. And I'm not saying anything bad about him or anything, I don't know all the details to that particular situation, but it was a big deal. And so is just being cocky, it's that big a deal? The other things I've heard are, Deion being a helicopter dad. Okay, here's how I address that in this. Eli Manning didn't want to play wherever he was drafted, and the family, got involved. Even John Elway was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, and he was also a baseball player. So he used that leverage to say, yeah, I ain't going with the Colts, even though they picked me, and was able to get over to the Denver Broncos. So I think, when Deion was talking, and maybe it wasn't helpful, I'll concede that. When he was talking before the draft about where his son would play and in what kind of situations, that's a whole lot different than interfering once somebody is drafted. That's a whole lot different than what did they think he was going to do? He's a coach. He wouldn't find it acceptable for somebody's dad to be calling the offensive coordinator during the game. There was not. That's just bullshit, man. Deion is a coach, and people talking about Deion wanting to coach his son. That was all handled, and Deion made the decision to stay in college. And he signed a big contract. And he just signed it. He ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere soon. So the helicopter dad thing, I'm just not buying that. And did that hurt the Ball twins or the Ball, LaMelo Ball and those? I mean, talk about a dad that was.
I would say it's definitely hurt hurt and elevated their career at the same time, because it brings a lot of publicity to the player itself, or to the players, but then that just gives the players another level of standard to kind of live up to, a lot more kind of stress, more so.
And one was better than the other.
Yeah.
Too. I don't know. Tiger Woods' dad was, I guess, a helicopter dad.
Yeah, Tiger Woods is just. He's just good at what he does, though.
And he was. Now, I'm not saying Shedeur is going to be that kind of player, but do people have the idea of, it's hard to be the kid of uh, of a dad who played professional sports. That's just not easy, period. No matter how good they were, even if they were average, that's not because to get there, it's still a limited group of people to just even get there, let alone to be great at that level and to have to live up to that. And that's a big spotlight. A big spotlight has been on him for a long, long time. And what? There's going to be a circus because what? Because he does TikTok videos.
I mean, you got it's I don't know, especially nowadays, like with the whole like social media being such a big thing, you kind of have to be careful because like you have to take that burden in as a team, right? If it's going to be something that's going to affect you negatively in the future, maybe it's just a one-time thing or a two-time thing, but like everything nowadays is a brand, right? So you got to protect your brand as much as possible. So a lot of these teams that believe, hey,
Hmm.
yeah, he might be probably one of the best players to come up right now, but is it going to affect our brand and how much is it going to affect our brand and stuff like that? Because that's pretty much
Okay.
sports nowadays.
No, you know what?
Everything's a brand.
I totally agree with that. But what did that do for Colorado? What did the Sanders brand do for Colorado? It turned around a whole fucking program.
Yes, but that's the I
It
don't know.
brought
It's
money. It
no,
brought
for
like
sure, for sure,
I
for
don't
sure.
know. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I mean, I think you're totally in the right direction there. But I think in this case, it's a positive thing.
Well, that's the thing that's unfortunate about the situations. We won't know
No,
until it happens, you know.
but you got these owners that they're old. Most of them are old.
Yep.
I don't think they understand the whole social media thing. You know what I mean? I don't think
I think,
that's
and that's part of it too, because I think, or this is just my brain kind of just assuming
yeah.
things,
No, that's okay because I'm trying to figure this shit out,
because
man.
you have the older people, the owners and stuff like that, that are very old school way about going about their stuff, and then they have all their employees that are like, hey, but nowadays we have brands, right? Like everything's a
Hmm.
brand. Like you got to be careful what the people you choose and kind of what you say or how you do things, because it's gonna affect your brand one way or another. So like, I think there's a lot of like back and forth between managers and like their under like their staff or their coaches or whatever. And I think that's probably why we had a lot of like confusion whether or not they wanted Shedeur or not, because maybe they were going because like that was another thing that a lot of my coworkers were talking about, right? It's like people probably know, a lot of the coaches probably know that Shedeur is like one of those people that he's gonna get drafted no matter what, but everyone is worried about the other positions first because Shedeur is such a exclamation point, right? Or question mark. We don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. So there's a lot
You
of like
know,
back and forth on
and I could
that end.
see him dropping out of the first round.
Hmm.
And I think, whatever message the NFL wanted to send, that would send the message.
Yeah.
Him not being drafted in the second round and then going a third time and basically almost,
To
over
the
four
next
and a
one.
half times. It was, almost went through the fifth round. To pass up on that kind of talent that many times and then the Browns, why did you, have you seen their quarterback room now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck are they doing? I, I don't
No
understand
idea.
it at all because they got Kenny Pickett. Somebody's not everybody ain't staying. Well, Watson won't even be on the roster because he's going to be on the unable to play,
In jail.
right? Right. So there's one gone. Uh, I don't understand the Dylan thing really. I really don't. And if you take him, then you just take him. But to have two players at that level and Kenny Pickett, Kenny was a good choice for backup
Mhm.
because you got somebody with with NFL
Experience.
starting experience and somebody who was, even though he was a backup quarterback, he still played a little bit of time
Hmm.
in reserve
Yeah.
for Jalen Hurts. But to be in the environment of what it took and the mindset of a team that goes through a season and wins a Super Bowl,
Hmm.
there's some value to that.
Yeah.
So as a backup quarterback, that's a good choice. I, I just don't like. There's got to be a trade at some
That's what I'm
point.
assuming
You
is just
know,
happening. There's just gonna be a lot of trades
I don't
after the draft is
know.
finalized and everything. I think there's gonna be a lot of trades going on.
You're listening to the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. Please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, will you? And another favor, maybe a little bit bigger, just share the show. Share any of the episodes you think your friends might be interested in, whether it be about sports or testosterone, politics, maybe. You know, man shit. Appreciate you. Much love. I think there was also a lot of shit said overall about this particular draft class, and they've been calling it weak the whole college season. You know, so before we even get to the draft or the whole year of football that we just had, the whole 2024 season, a whole lot of shit talk about this quarterback draft class. And then when you start looking at the names, though, and really start looking at the names, it's like, is it really that weak? Is it really that weak? Because the Steelers got Will Howard. And I'm not, you think I'm mad because we just got a guy who led Ohio State to a national championship? No, he's got a lot of good tools. And there was a lot of pressure on Ohio State. They had a lot of talent. He had a lot of talent to work with, but he's going to have a lot of talent on the Pittsburgh Steelers team to work with too, okay? Because he's going from Ohio State, who really, that's the one thing I can do that everybody can't do. Even if it's not my team or whether it's my team, I can be honest about shit. Or even if it's, a team I don't like, I can be honest about it. And if they do something good or something smart, because I thought the moving backwards for Cleveland, that was brilliant to move back just a few slots to get what they got in the extra picks.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. And I'll say that. I'm not going to, say crap about him just because I'm not a Browns fan. I'm a Steelers fan. So I really think that they did a good job of that, in that particular instance. You know who else did really good? I don't mean to be jumping around. The Giants did really fucking good. And I don't know if anybody was expecting that. Because honestly, to me, who was the real number one of this draft? It wasn't Cam Ward.
Oh, Hunter.
No, not even Hunter. And I love Hunter. You
Really?
know I love Hunter, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Carter was, to me, he's like, and maybe he's a miss. We never know until it actually steps on the field.
Yeah.
But the best player was him. And, if the Browns had stayed where they were instead of moving back, right, they could have gotten him.
Yeah, no, the Browns is
But you don't want to put Carter with Garrett.
I'm not too familiar with college players, so I
right,
can't,
but no,
I can't
that
comment
dude
on
is
that,
but that dude, I'm just telling you, he is a motherfucking beast.
Okay.
And he is potentially another Myles Garrett.
Gotcha.
Or TJ Watt. He has that kind of what when the words they use, the professionals use, floor and ceiling. They have a high floor, or low floor, or high ceiling, or this person has a high floor, but their ceiling is low, so they're not going to get much better and all that. This dude has a high floor and a high ceiling, so he's done and that included in the playoffs. Even you just seen him. He was a one-man wrecking crew. And I don't like Penn State. I never said nice shit about Penn State the whole fucking season. But to me, he was the best. He was the best baller. Okay. So the Giants getting him was a big win. And then later on, the steal of the draft, my boy Cam from Arizona State. So Genty, number one running back. Everybody considered him the number one running back. A lot of people thought he should be the Heisman, remember? The person who had the second most yards to Genty was Cam.
Okay.
For running back.
Yeah.
Skatibo. Scadaboo, whatever, however we hear it pronounced, but Scadaboo. I love that kid. And then I personally was at the Boise State playoff game here in Arizona. I was there at the game. I watched him play Penn State. So playing a little bit better competition than is their regular conference, right?
Yeah.
And he played okay. And some of it I thought was the play calling. I wasn't putting it on him. They kept running him up the middle
instead of
out wide. And against Penn State, that was not going to work. Now, if he's as fast as he's supposed to be, I don't know how out wide wouldn't have worked. So I don't know. That's just, and it's just one game. I get it. Just one game. And I had seen him in several, but that one was in person. I'm seeing it. And then also, I got to see Cam in person. I didn't get to see him I wasn't at the Texas game, but I did watch that game. That kid put Arizona State on his back and got them into overtime. He threw a pass for a touchdown. He caught a pass for a touchdown, and he ran for a motherfucking touchdown, all while puking on the field. He moved people 5'9". See, they don't like him because he's little. They don't like him because of that. He's 5'9". I'm 5'9.5". We're little people to some people. But that dude, so my size. So I'm a half inch, and give me my motherfucking half inch because it's a real half inch. Look, I'd rather say I was 5'10". So if I'm telling you I'm 5'9.5", I'm being honest, all right? I hate being called little because I'm not little. I'm not big, but I'm not little.
Yeah.
If I was 5'6", I'd be little. Not 5'6", motherfuckers. Anyways. But he's like 230, 235. And I've been 235 at 5'9".
That's a lot of weight.
And that's some weight, man. That dude just dragged me. You couldn't get him down. And he was I believe the first ever, you can look it up, the first ever NCAA running back to have 1,500 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards in the same season, which is what he did last year. Again, and a total turnaround for the Arizona State program, who was picked to finish last.
He said, what, in
1,500 rushing yards.
15.
That's not even accurate. I don't know what is wrong with Google, but that's not even close. But see, that's why AI is better. Different AI. I know they kind of use AI too, but that's not even close. I would put Cam Scadaboo the first player to rush for 1,500 yards and 500 yards receiving.
See, I don't know how to spell his last name.
SKA. You're supposed to be an E where the...
Yeah, chat.
That's all right. It'll fix. I can't help but talk about this shit. And I'll get back to Shedeur in a minute. That's just how my brain works. I can't help it.
So it looks like he set a school record.
Oh, first player since Christian McCaffrey. But what does that tell you? McCaffrey is a beast still, right?
Oh, yeah.
And again, to get him that late, that's huge, especially for the Lions, especially for the Giants, after, making such a dumb move at running back that, he's going to make up for it. People are going to be shocked. In fact, I'll even go this far out in the limb. that he has a really good chance of being rookie of the year. I'm going to go that far. I love that kid, man. I would have loved him at Pittsburgh, but we took a Iowa running back instead. Other than that, I thought Pittsburgh did really well. But I was surprised that Pittsburgh passed on Shedeur at 21. And for Pittsburgh to continue to also pass on him in later rounds. Now, Pittsburgh did not have a round 2 draft pick, but they didn't take him at round 3 either. So that's the whole thing, is how far this all went. And we were talking about brands before I got us both off topic. But I don't think it's that he cares about his own personal brand more than the NFL. This is just the world we live in now. And he's not, if you really, really watch him, if you really, really watch Dion and really listen to the things that they say, and not just snippets, because you can take snippets and pull out, that they're just way too cocky and this and that all day long. It's easy to do. But it's really not what you think it is, at least in my mind. And I don't think most people that were commenting on Shedeur, just like everything else on social media, people commenting that how many games did they watch? And I only saw 2 games in person the last 2 years, but I did see, games in person. I made it a point to see him play. That's how big the deal is and what Dion did for Colorado. And what Dion did, it's not just what Dion did for football in Colorado, it's what he did for the university. People actually care about that university again, and bringing in money that's going to help other sports now. You have alumni making donations now because the university is getting attention, and it's much better to say I was an alum and graduate of Colorado now. You're a little more proud of that because they've turned things around a little bit. It's helped their basketball recruiting. It's just helping all the way around. It did some very, very big things. Because remember, they hired Dion and paid him with money they didn't have yet. And how are they able to do that? Because he brought in the money. The money followed him. It came, and more games on TV. They were moving schedules all the fuck over the place to try to, as best they could, get Colorado on TV as many times as possible. The NFL is about money. Okay? Whatever you want to say about Dion and Shedeur, they got money. They bring the money. They bring it. That's where the value is. That's why it was worth it to pay them and bring him there. And he delivered. But yet, see, here's what people will do or have done on social media that I've seen. They'll talk about the wins and losses of the team, whether they're talking about Dion or Shedeur. And, well, if you put the 2 seasons together, it's not that impressive. Except the season before they got there, they won 1 motherfucking game. And the next year it was 3. And then this past year it was 9, and they were in a tie. Think about this. They were in a tie for first place, and had they just on one other game, just won one other game that they should have won, and I could go back and look and tell you which one that would be too. They were within a whisper of being the conference champion and going to the playoff. That conference, which normally is not a very competitive conference, became very competitive this past year. And so I get it. Normally, it's not a very strong conference, but it was this past year. And they were right there till the very fucking end. That is impressive. And how inspired do you think Dion is to do it now without his son? Is it sure you did that with your son because he's such a good quarterback? Oh, is he a good quarterback or is he a lousy quarterback? Because in January, we thought he was a good quarterback. Now we're saying he's not a good quarterback. He throws for over 4,000 yards. What, 4,700 yards this past season? He's a lousy quarterback.
Is that what you've been reading? I've been reading that it's not that he's not a good player. It's the additional things that he's bringing.
Yeah, I understand. No, but people are attacking his play.
Really?
Too. The average arm strength. You don't have. That dude throws more accurate long balls than about any other person in college.
Yeah, I think it's the distance, not necessarily the accuracy, because that's what I've been reading, is that a lot of people are saying that although he is a very good player, that he doesn't exceed like the power of like the best, quote unquote. That's what I've been reading, at least.
I can tell you, there are many quarterbacks that have been bust in the NFL who had these big monster arms. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'm specifically thinking of the bust from Texas who played for the Raiders. So just put that. What quarterback came from Texas and was a bust for the Raiders? That will come up.
And he came from where, I'm sorry?
Texas. He played for Texas. I'm almost positive.
Vince
No,
Young?
it wasn't Colt McCoy. It was Jamarcus Russell. Colt McCoy went to the Browns first. But no, it's Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, look up Jamarcus Russell, dude. That dude was big. I mean, big, and had an arm. He had all the tools, the size, the body size.
6'6", 270.
Yeah.
65, yeah.
Yep. Uh-huh. He had all first round, first pick. First round, first pick. This dude didn't do shit in the NFL, but he was the first pick. Yep. How can you not like that? Some guys just win. Tim Tebow just won. He got screwed. The NFL is just fucked up sometimes. It just is. Doug Flutie, the whole Cam Scatebo thing reminds me of Doug Flutie because he wasn't big enough. Yeah, and he ended up having a really, a pretty good career. Now, after he was drafted, there was for a time that he had to go up and play in Canada. And what he did in Canada? Win. In their CFL, he won Canadian Football League, shit. But yeah, played for the Bears, drafted by the Bears first, and then
New England.
And look, he played good in a number of seasons. Played in a number of games. He wasn't just, just a backup. But he had to work hard for that shit. Because, he was not tall enough to see over the line and all this other bullshit. I see, and I'm always looking for the guy. Who's the guy that has the heart? Who's the guy nobody is counting on that's just gonna, and that's the GOAT. That's Tom Brady, right?
Is Tom Brady? He's pretty big, isn't he? Oh, I know.
Yeah,
that
but
when
I
he
just
first
mean
got in
how
there,
he
yeah,
was
yeah,
perceived.
yeah.
Look, 'cause if you look at his career and you watch a documentary on it, you'll see he was kind of treated like shit by Michigan.
Yeah.
Even though all he ever did was come in, and win, and beat Ohio State. But even after he did that, they almost replaced him his senior year. He almost wasn't the starting quarterback his senior year. He had to fight that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And all he did was win. I mean,
even when he got into the NFL, right? The only reason they even threw him in there was because the injury or something like that, right?
Yep. It was an injury.
That was the only reason. And since
And,
then,
and then all he did was what?
win. Yeah.
Win. So they were going to be going to the playoffs. They couldn't replace him at that point.
Yeah.
You have to wait for him to suck, and he just didn't.
Yeah.
So that's, and I guess this is an opportunity for Shedeur to do that too.
I honestly, I'm kind of glad all this kind of happened. Because if Shedeur is actually as good as everyone believes he is, then this is gonna make one of those stories again. It's gonna be one of those like comeback
I
stories.
believe that
and stuff
too.
like that. So
you know what I don't like about it
what's up?
is I am just over, and my fuse right now is so motherfucking short on social media. Dude, if I could punch people on social media, I would literally get arrested every day for assault, because I would. I'm just so sick of people on social media, and it's almost like the whole Elon thing. You know, Elon is with Trump, and I hate Trump, so now I hate Elon. So I hate Dion, so I hate Shedeur, and he sucks. And it's like, you're just a motherfucker, just hating people for no reason. You know, that's my point.
Gotcha.
Is I'm so over people as hating people for no reason. Excuse me.
It's just a bandwagon, like especially with social media. It's just a bandwagon, right? A lot of people that don't really understand or don't care to understand the full picture, they're just gonna go with the mass majority of what people are saying.
Just say I agree with my friend on
Exactly.
in their social media post. Dude, you don't know dick. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No, but I'm actually like, because I was having the conversation with one of the coworkers at the bank, and we were talking about when it was the second day, right?
Right.
And we were talking about who would pick him up, because we were going down the list and stuff like that. And in my head, I was like, I don't think I really high key wanted the Jaguars to pick him up,
Really?
because then they would have had both Shedeur and Hunter.
Yeah.
Man, that would have been a killer squad. But no,
but they like their current quarterback,
Exactly.
who they've paid a lot of money to. It still ain't really done anything yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with the Chargers and some of these other ones. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But
just throwing that out there. Go ahead. No,
like I said, I'm actually really super glad he still didn't go in the second round or the third, because like I said, I love a good because he's not considered an underdog, right? Quote unquote.
No.
So like it also, that I guess that's what makes it kind of like cool, because he's from my perspective, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like, because I'm not like super into college football. I'm kind of into the NFL. Like I'm more of a casual than anything. But I love the storylines. Like for me, I watch the documentaries of Tom Brady or of the Baltimore, what's his Jackson,
Lamar
Jackson. Like I just love those stories. So the fact that we're giving basically a live story of this amazing player getting the chance to prove everyone wrong is like,
that's great.
It just sucks that he landed on the Browns though.
I know, but that's kind of my point too. Is there are instances of people doing things that bring more people to the sport.
Exactly.
Okay. So you haven't paid as much attention to college football, and maybe it's not going to be college, but maybe you're going to pay. You have your favorite team. You're a 49ers fan, but you're going to be checking this out, especially if he gets in a game.
Exactly.
You're going to be tuning in, even if you're not a Browns fan.
Exactly, yeah.
And that would have been true if he went to the Steelers or whoever it is. But that's my whole point. Is like, y'all realize that's good shit?
No,
that's good shit for you.
And it is cool. Like, I hate that he went to the Browns, but it also makes the story even better, right? If he's able to win with the Browns, like that's not only like a good thing for Sanders.
You got to go to my Facebook. You got to go to my Facebook. That's exactly what I said.
Because like even like within the past like year or two, like the amount of like media coverage, all the hate that they've been having for just for being.
Don't I look good in that picture?
Yeah, the peck muscle right there is kind of, that thing's popping.
Sometimes I look better than others, man. That was a good day.
This camera angles. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. My reaction to the Browns stealing Sanders. I'm all confused. I've rooted for him and Dion since Jackson State. Got to see him play. in person the last 2 years. I really want to see him do well, just not with the Browns. I hate the Browns. Great move by Cleveland. This is their best overall draft I've seen in years, even though they got 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs. Still the best in decades even. But yeah, that was my whole thing. It messes me up because, I have my team, the Steelers, but I also root for individuals.
Exactly.
And I always have. There are certain players I just gravitate to, and merchandise sales. I can't be the only guy that does this shit. So like I just finally got a new Caitlin Clark hat.
Okay.
And because last year it was hard to get any Caitlin Clark merchandise because it sold out so fast. It was just brutal. Now I actually got a good hat, like a quality hat that, that I would wear. But I wouldn't have gotten that without her. It was her. I follow her. I'm gonna wear it to the not Mystics. It's Mercury. I'm gonna wear it to the Mercury games.
Gotcha.
Even when they're not playing, because I don't care.
It's just
I like her, and that's what I'm gonna wear that hat. I'll probably get a Mercury hat, but I like my Phoenix Gorilla hat, so I'll probably wear that one too. Because that Gorilla still comes out for their games
man.
too.
He's iconic. I love that man.
But you know what's bad though is the image of the gorilla is the image on T-shirts and stuff is way better than the actual gorilla that's out there.
Yeah.
But the gorilla suits suck. Get him a better gorilla suit where he looks like a buff gorilla. This gorilla looks like he's starving. Okay, that's not cool. It's like a skinny gorilla. They don't make skinny gorillas.
I'm curious because
he's terrible, dude. That's just god awful. Yeah, look at it. He's horrible. He's just skinny. He doesn't look like the gorilla. I want the guy to look at in a better mask. Get a mean fucking mask. Make him look good. That doesn't even look good for Planet of the Apes, man. They would be embarrassed. That is not good. So the one there, perfect cut, the decal, like that's my hat, And then I got a shirt with it on there too.
This one here.
Yeah. Well, I have a shirt that has a buff gorilla on it, as the picture too. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, we are getting so off topic, but it's fun. And that's what it should be. The show should be fun.
No, but I'm excited for the Browns. Like I said, I'm a Niners fan. Whatever. I have a few friends that are Browns fans, so I'm happy for them because they've had a miserable past few years.
Past few years, it's been 25 years, dude.
Yeah, so at least they have
25 years they've sucked. Literally.
Yeah, no. So
I think they've only been to the playoffs once in the last 25 years. So when you want to shit talk my team, and yeah, we haven't been great recently. We still been making the playoffs. That does matter. Even though we haven't won a playoff game recently. That's you have to be specific. In the last 25 years.
Gotcha. I forgot.
Because remember there was that because they were gone for like 3 years too. But since they've been back.
Oh, three times. Wow.
3.
That's 2 more than I expected.
Right?
Oh, man.
And you can thank Baker Mayfield for that last one. And then you fucking shit on him. Dumb. Just dumb. Yeah. So I did want to address the jewelry thing too, because people brought up the jewelry thing or him pointing. There were certain things that were said at the stadiums, and I've been there, from the college kids and stuff, taunting that was done. And he reacted to some of that taunting at the end, and, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? You know who else is flashy, but they're white, wore a lot of jewelry and shit? Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
Burrow
everyone loves a little bit of Burrow though.
yeah, I like him, but I know that flash don't bother me.
No.
But I think that's another thing. There's a lot of traditional fans that don't like the whole NIL shit and these kids
Getting
getting
paid.
money
Yeah.
in college.
I also think it's I don't think it's dumb that they get paid. I think it's dumb the amount they get paid. Because you're just incentivizing.
But that just shows you how much money there is out there
involved in that. Yeah.
And my whole thing with that is the NIL definitely has to be tweaked. They need to have contracts, legit contracts, and they can be annual contracts, or you can agree to 2 years, or you can agree to 2 years with the stipulation that I don't have to honor the second year of the contract if you fire the coach or something like that.
Yeah.
But both sides have to agree.
Yep.
You know, that's what it is. So anything could be in the contract, and I'm for anything being in the contract. I just don't like this bullshit of them having like 3 different opportunities to hunt for, another team every fucking season, or it happening while they are, doing bowl games and that kind of shit. And I'm not for players not playing in the bowl games. That needs to be in the contract. No matter what year you are, no matter whether you're going to get drafted or not, okay, you can buy insurance. If you're that motherfucking good, the university can spend some of the money, the player can spend some of the money and buy insurance for that fucking game.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can get hurt anywhere, anytime. That's the thing. And people do get insurance for that kind of stuff. And that it's just even more necessary now is what it is. But yeah, that's my problem with it, is just being there, because all of a sudden, Cam Ward is put on this pedestal. And to me, what showed lack of, I'll take the cocky kid over the kid who abandoned his team at halftime of a bowl game. And that's what he did. They could have won that game. Now, maybe it wasn't important to him anymore, or Troy, you don't want him to get hurt because of the... It's bullshit. Anybody can get hurt at any motherfucking time. Okay? He got paid. He got NIL money. He should have played that game. Those games should mean something. They used to mean something, and mean something to the university when recruiting, because you would say, hey, this is our school. We've won this many seasons. We've went to this many bowl games. You come play for us. We're going to be playing in Arizona or California in the Rose Bowl or wherever the fuck. That used to be a recruiting thing. It was a positive thing. Yeah.
No, it doesn't really matter much.
Yeah. You're just shitting on bowl. Then don't play them. If they don't mean anything, then don't play them.
Yeah.
That's the thing with it. Just have your playoffs and that's it. They don't have special games for all the losers who don't fucking make the NFL playoffs. Why does a 6-6 team need to go to a bowl game? Why? Money.
Oh yeah.
Money, because people are going to travel and see their shitty fucking 6-6 team, right?
Yeah.
It's money to the school. Let's just be honest. So, look, you're going to make money off the players. The players need to be paid. I'm all good with that, and I'm good with. But there's a whole bunch of people that. It's just very, very prominent in the time that we live right now that just hate on success in general.
Oh, yeah. Just
hate
jealousy.
on success. Who, I'm not jealous? Yeah, you are, motherfucker. Yeah, you are. Because I'm not over here hating on anyone being successful or doing better than me. No. And I want people to do well. That's the thing. You're just mad. Could you think you work hard? Come on. I am brutal right now. Somebody said something smart to me, and I actually went back and deleted my comment because it was so hard hitting.
You felt bad?
I felt bad.
He's like, no, that's a little too far.
I went a little too far. It was like it wasn't a knife in the gut. It was a sword. Yeah, he said something. my quote was, or my comeback, because nobody's as good at that as I am, but but he was not very fit. Okay,
Gotcha.
so I was like, yeah, and your daughter's gonna be walked down the aisle by her stepdad, because you ain't gonna be here unless you get yourself drop 100 pounds or something like that. It was just brutal. But yeah, I felt bad, so I deleted it.
Went back.
But not before he saw it. I thought I got it before he saw it, but that didn't happen. But dude, that's how I feel right now.
Mhm.
I'm just being totally honest. That's how I feel right now. I'm so sick of these motherfuckers just saying shit in general, and I'll only get to it quickly because there's not enough time to go into this topic, which I wanted to. But what just happened on Friday, we've had two things. One we covered in the last episode. We had the New Mexico judge who was harboring an illegal alien who was a gang member. Okay, there's no doubt about that he was a gang member. And they had him in their home, living there. And this guy even let the gang member and other members of the gang go shooting with him, supply them with guns. It's just nuts, man. It's just nuts that this guy did that, this New Mexico judge. Well, in Wisconsin, they arrested a Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, and there was an illegal alien in her courtroom that was going to be taken by ICE after his proceeding. Okay. He was getting his due process. He's in the courtroom. The judge made ICE go talk to somebody else or go to another part of the courthouse.
Okay.
And she took the attorney and the illegal out a side door where they couldn't be taken by ICE to let them escape, and they had to capture this guy chasing him in the streets.
So he was in the process of getting his papers?
He was I don't know what the case was for, but he was at the courthouse in front of the judge. And the judge slipped him out the back door.
Okay.
So that he wouldn't be detained by ICE, so he wouldn't be apprehended by ICE. You can pull it up.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, Hannah Dugan. Yeah.
He said Wisconsin, though?
In Wisconsin. Yep. And there are motherfuckers defending Democrats. That's how god-awful they are. I can't stand this anymore. That they're defending this judge. There is no defense of this judge. What she did is wrong. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, see, he had an immigration judge issued a warrant for his arrest. He got his due process. He was getting due process. So this was ICE doing what they're legally allowed to do. But she knows better. And these people think it's okay. They don't think that anybody, even if they're a bad person or have committed crimes, that they should be taken. They hate the government and Trump that much that they're willing to let somebody out in the community and in society. That is unbelievable. See, Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson also criticized the arrest. Criticized the arrest? It was an illegal arrest that they were trying to make, and they absolutely should arrest the judge for doing that. You can't have judges doing that, man. And then, at least that makes me wonder, so what's going to happen with these immigration judges? They just going to start approving everybody? Approving people that don't qualify for amnesty, just start giving them amnesty because they can? You know, just because you live in a country that pays for shit and you have a shit opportunity is not how amnesty works. You don't get here. You don't get to use the amnesty card because you're not able to find a job in your country. But this is just unbelievable, and people defending it. This is the one, like, you would think that in this one case that the other side could say, yeah, this is bad. This is a bad look. But instead they double down. They actually defend it. And that was after the judge, this happening after the judge who was keeping somebody in their home. You can't, no citizen is allowed to harbor a criminal or an illegal. You're not allowed to do it. Anybody, not just, and if a judge does it, a person in position of power like that, I don't know. I think that's worse. They're the ones we're supposed to trust to adjudicate these things appropriately based on the law. So does these are the law matters. They keep saying that about Trump. The law matters. Really? The law matters, but this is okay? This is following the law. This is insane. So that's why I'm like all up in arms right now on social media and dealing with people like that, especially on X. You know what a shithole that is. That my fuse is just short with dumb people. It's just short with dumb people. And that's okay. All right. That's what we got for today. Turned in to the Shedeur Sanders show, and I'm okay with that. I highly recommend that you listen to the Stephen A. podcast on this that he did, I believe, on Saturday.
Yeah, yesterday.
And he normally, that was a non-scheduled podcast. I think he makes some great points.
Correction.
And he actually does point out some things, I think fairly, of where Shedeur and Dion, what their role in it was. You know what I mean? That, like, for them to take a little bit of responsibility. But I 100% agree with him that they went way too far. They went way too far. That shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't. I don't like the Kaepernick comparisons, really.
Kaepernick.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't. That dude did some shit to himself. And when he had an opportunity to come back, he blew it. Instead of showing up at the Atlanta Falcons field and showing what he still had, he decided to go to a high school a couple hours away and tell people to come there instead. It was bullshit. It was all set up for him to have that opportunity. And he didn't take it. That shit's on him. But anyways, that's what we got. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life.